Everybody, welcome back to this episode of Think Business Live. I'm looking forward to talking to Paul Lawrence Vann. Paul, how are you? Good afternoon. Good to see you.
Hey, doing great, John. Off, looking great here, and love to be on the Think Business Live show.
Good.
So
Well,
thank you.
I love having you. Let me give everybody a quick background. You're a leadership expert, having served over 20 years in the United States Air Force. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate your service. A year in the U.S. House of Representatives, and for 2 years at Mobil Oil Company. You have a strong track record working with leadership staff and employees at diverse organizations to assist them in elevating their leadership excellence. And you also are a financial coach with Wealth Building Academy. So welcome to the show. Appreciate you having being on the show. I always love talking about, I love talking to other coaches, especially when it comes to educating them on things that they need help on, like the financial world. Absolutely. But I want to first go into, because I think before you can make a good decision, you need to be more mindful, and you are a mindful and leadership coach. And so as we are kind of in this endemic, as we sit here on May 17th live, 2021, what is the mindset and how can people be more mindful as we are kind of at this end stage, hopefully, where mask mandates have changed and everybody's feeling kind of, wow, I have been a little isolated and lonely and didn't even realize it. So where do we put our minds? Let's start there.
Well, John, first of all, it's an honor to be with you on Think Business Live today. And what a great question. And we've all been through a lot over the past year, especially with this pandemic. And when we look at our mind and looking at the mindset we want to be in, we're going through that change or that pivot, even mentally. So the best thing that we can do with our mind right now is to continue to develop it. And we can develop it through different strategies, such as looking at exactly what we've been through and then projecting where we want to be. And I believe that's the most important thing that we can do, because a lot of people, some people actually caught the COVID-19. So they're overcoming that in mind, body, and spirit. So where we need to be today is to continue to develop the physiological aspect of our minds. And that means looking at it from a scientific standpoint, how we can improve on our minds through meditation, through affirmations, through even conditioning, going to the gym to condition or going outside to walk. There are many different ways in order to do that.
Let's talk about that for a minute, because I'm a big fan of meditation. I love the fact that you're talking about, conditioning and doing things of that nature and getting outside. But I want to talk about the power of affirmations, because I think that's something that people talk about, it gets overlooked, or they do it for a day or two. But like anything, if you do a little bit every day, it compounds over time. Yes. Talk about just kind of what an affirmation is, the energy behind it, and why they work.
Well, great question, John. And what it really entails is looking at exactly how one thinks. In other words, when we look at an affirmation, it has to be done on a daily basis. And when one makes an affirmation, it should be in the present tense. In other words, if a person states, I want to be in the best physical condition I can be, I'm in the best physical condition I can be. I am improving my mind. People tell me that I have a bright mind, a brilliant mind. And so we have to put ourselves in the present tense, because what has happened over the course of time, John, is that we're looking at the subconscious mind, which typically people operate from a 95% standpoint. So typically people are operating with just 5% of their conscious mind. So we want to be able to switch that aspect and become more present. And that gives us that mindfulness aspect as well. And so through the affirmation, what we want it to be is to be some positive energy. And it can't be a one and done. It has to be consistently on a daily basis, repetitive, because it does take character, it does take discipline and patience to be able to make that transformation.
Yeah, but let's talk about discipline and patience for a minute, because I want to talk about how we as human beings grow. Yes. And I think many people have kind of like this all or nothing mindset when it comes to learning. And I'm a big believer that, even if you can do something 5 minutes a day or 3 minutes a day or 1 minute a day, and then figure out how to actually, I work with clients all over the country, all over the world on how to time block, and it's better to do something for 2 minutes a day than it is once every month or 2 months for 30 minutes, right? Like, because you're building a different muscle. So
Exactly.
as somebody who does so much work in the space of mindfulness, how do we build our muscle and our muscle memory and patience and discipline with ourselves to actually do that every, I'm going to say every day, and then 3 to 5 times a week, right? With some consistent rhythm.
Yes. Well, first of all, what we must do is get some quiet time. We
Mm.
must be alone, because when we're alone, we go inside, and
Yeah.
inside is where it all takes place. That's where the great things happen. So we have to be silent, be quiet, as you stated, having that meditation. And as a result of that, we build that mental muscle. We build those muscles that are going to carry us into the future. And we're going to leave the past behind, because we're looking for full transformation. And transformation doesn't take place unless we take proactive action. And we also have to get rest. We need rest, because we need to rest our minds. And then, of course, reading. Reading is very important to continue to learn and build that mental muscle, and become what we call very mindful in the sense of mental toughness.
Yeah.
We also want to have that. We know we've been through a lot with this pandemic. I've lost 4 family members since December, and two class members. So I have to take myself and say, you know what I need to do? I need to really continue to ride my stationary bike. I need to take a nap once a day. I need to get a full night's rest, stay hydrated. And so these are some of the things that we can do. And again, getting those affirmations in there, just continuing to work on a day by day basis. I am getting stronger. I am making improvements. I am rich. I am learning every day.
Yeah.
And keeping that positivity in there.
I love that, Paul. All right. So let's talk about building financial wealth today. You are a financial coach with Wealth Building Academy. We're in a time right now where I think many studies or studies would show, and I may be getting some of this wrong off the top of my head, but that the average American doesn't have more than $500 in their savings account. Many people have been hit very hard because of COVID, lost their jobs, salaries cuts, furloughed, et cetera, et cetera. And, they're struggling, right? And so, how do you save money today, when times are so uncertain?
Well, the first thing that one has to do, and it has been tough. Money is the number one challenge that people have. They have financial overwhelm. It's causing them the stress, the anxiety, some cases depression, divorce rates are high. But in order for a person to begin to make that transformation, they have to find out where they are today. There must be an assessment of exactly where one is today. For example, I would take myself, I would get a notepad, and I would put all of my assets on the left side of that ledger, as I was in accounting with 40 hours of accounting. And then on the right side, I look at my entire budget. And then I subtract the debts from the assets that I have. And that tells me where I am today. Then at that point, I start looking at ways to cut by putting together a financial plan. Let's say, for example, put away that credit card. Be more conservative. You don't necessarily have to go out for lunch, because a lot of people aren't working. So take food in, like what I used to do in the Pentagon for 12 years. Look at different ways, find the lowest price on gas. Looking at utilities, ways to cut those utilities. So they're just marginally, individual can take each line item on the debt side. And if you have credit cards, pay those credit card bills off, pay down all of that debt to become debt free. That's really what the goal is. And then at that point, you start saving money and then having an emergency account for 6 to 9 months. But it's possible. And a lot of people can do it. There have been some people I'm aware of that actually have paid off $100,000 in about 6 months.
Yeah.
They will. Yes.
Yeah. It's also, I think, one of the things that I was advising people last March when the pandemic hit is look at all of the monthly recurring fees that you're paying. Because a lot of those you don't need. It's interesting. Every kind of, like, I would say probably
Sure.
6 months, I call my cable company and
Sure.
just say, hey, what deals do you have to make my fees lower? Because if I leave, I can, there's so many other options, and
Exactly.
they always somehow put me on a new plan that saves me money. And so I think being proactive with that as well
Sure.
is really, really important. And
Absolutely.
so let's talk about, I love talking about, how things compound, right?
Yeah.
A penny that doubles every day over 30
Yes.
days, the 31st day is $10.7 million, almost
Sure.
hard to comprehend. And we've
Yeah.
all heard the stories of, if you invested $1 every day since 1927, you'd be worth 4.9 billion.
Exactly.
Those
That's
things.
right.
But let's just talk about what someone should be doing maybe on a monthly basis, right? Because things do compound. That is
Sure.
a very real thing. And so
Yes.
what's kind of the base way of savings?
Well, the best way of saving is to take into account, first of all, getting the bills paid off, getting all the debts paid off, because without it, you're really not going to start saving anything. So that would be the key. And people say, well, that's impossible. No, it's possible. You can do it. But what happens, as I stated, it takes that discipline and it takes patience. But to look at the compounding aspect, let's say when I left college and I saved, let's say, $5,000 a year. You save $5,000 a year over a 20-year career in the military, then you have a lot of money. Now, we know the interest rates have changed since that time, 20 years ago, but one can still save because they're not touching that money, and the money continues to grow. And we can also take that money and don't let it be idle. We can take that money and invest some of it too into stocks, into perhaps some real estates and some other instruments to help that money to grow, because money loves nothing more than for you and I to make it grow. And so it's incumbent upon us to look at different tools and instruments to be able to do that. And so there are many applications out there to make that happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it. And so I just want to dive deeper into the responsibility of people.
Sure.
Because, I'm a business coach, you're a financial coach, and you can give people great advice, but then they actually have to do it, right? They have to do the work. And that in many cases is a lifestyle change, a business change, a change of new rhythms, new patterns, looking at things from a higher frequency, higher vibration, different intent, different level of consciousness, right? So we're talking about changing consciousness. And so how do you change your pattern and keep it consistent?
Well, first of all, what a great question. And it comes down to each and every individual. But in essence, what is taken into account is mindset. For me, for example, the first thing I do with people when I started to coach them as a financial coach is working with them on their money mindset. And I try to get that aligned with their personal life as well as their business life, because without them, you won't be able to do it. And change for some people is a little bit more difficult than others. But sometimes it's the amount of pain that a person goes through when they decide to finally make that change. And in this economy, it's incumbent upon everyone to look at becoming debt free. It's better to be a lender than a borrower. That's the way I look at things. And so for people want to finally get off the hamster wheel of living paycheck to paycheck, now is the perfect time with the new normal taking in place to come debt free so they can be financially free. And the only way they can do that is they have to be determined to do it.
Yeah.
A lot of people are not going to be determined. And so my first job that I have as a financial coach is to go through a process of different strategies for money mindset. So I work on that mindset, developing the mind more and trying to reverse those bad habits that one may have had over several years and decades. And it really all goes back, John, to the childhood. If a person didn't have money talks with their parents, then the likelihood is that they're going to follow suit. Things such as sitting down at the table. Hey, we have a budget. We have to stay within this budget within the week. We have X amount of income, and then we have these debts and these bills to pay. We have the utilities. If you have a house, you have to pay that mortgage, the insurance on the vehicle, and life insurance, etc. So there are many ways, but the mindset is really what the key is. And for me, it's the money mindset.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, one of the things I'm doing with my son is he's 18. He put a little bit of money. I match the money, and then we
Yes.
play around on Robinhood, right? We buy stock.
Excellent. Excellent.
But it's important for him to see that we make a couple $100 one day and we lose a few $100 the next day, right?
Sure.
So
Because that's reality.
It's reality, right? It may not be it may not be a lot, but even when you're up $20 and then down 30, I want him to feel that, right? What that feels like. And so and it's fun for us to do and kind of play around with, a share here, a share here. So it's kind of fun.
Exactly.
So let's talk about you, the businessman, the entrepreneur. You've been doing wealth coaching for a while. You have a podcast. You have a very cool background. Give us the 90-second Reader's Digest version of how you got to today. And I asked for a couple reasons.
Sure.
One, I want to know. And two, I think people are graduating college, entering college, changing careers, and success is never a straight line.
Exactly.
So I think people are inspired by the Reader's Digest 90-second version of how you got to today.
Yes, great question. Beautiful question. In fact, when I look back on how I arrived at where I am today, it all goes down the pipeline of education. My parents, mother and father, always told me, do good in school. I listened to my parents. I went on and got a degree in business and accounting. Then I went forward and got a master's degree in business and then another degree in acquisitions. But it's education that got me to where I am today. And then the specialized skills of going in and being certified as a business, being certified as a mindfulness coach, and then looking at a business success coach, and then a spiritual coach, and now, of course, a financial coach. And so that's really from where I came. And then you add in the experience. I've had great experiences working in the Air Force on acquisition programs upwards of $3 billion, which meant entire communities were impacted by that. And so I learned and found out that what I was all about was about money. I was the green eye shade guy at Mobil Oil Company. When we purchased a new plant in Louisiana near New Orleans, I was the one that set up the accounting and financial plan for them. And so I always found myself around money, managing money, and then actually having money myself, John. How about that? That's original. And so I found myself with money, and I take that money and reinvest it in some real estate and in other different investments over time. And that's how I ended up where I am today. And of course, sharing that through the books I've written. I have 3 solo books and then 3 co-authored books.
Yeah, tell everybody where they can buy those books and the names of those books.
Yes, they can go on Amazon and they'll be able to get the motivational book, Living on Higher Ground. And they can also get another book, which is an inspirational book called Faith for Times Like Now. And then my 3rd book is actually being published now. So I haven't gotten that one out yet, but I have those books out. And then they can also just go to my link. I have https://linktr.ee/wealth building for life. And out there I have all the links to my books, coaching, and other online programs that I have out there, online courses as well.
Oh, like a link tree?
Yes, a link tree.
Yeah, I like Linktree.
Yeah, it puts everything out there.
Yeah. No, it's great. All right, good. All right, so you ready for a quick speed round, Paul?
Ready.
Right. So you're an author, you're a past publisher. Favorite book and why?
My favorite book and why is a book from Colin Powell, who I met when I was in the Pentagon, and that book is The Leadership Secrets of Colin Powell. And the reason why it's important to me is because it talks about the most important thing. You lead people and you manage things. Yeah. And if you take a soldier or airman or a seaman, and if they don't bring their problems or issues to you, then you're not leading. You must be able to listen to them and talk about their issues in terms of helping make the organization stronger. So that's why it's my favorite book. Yeah,
I love that. Lead people and manage things, because that really kind of in a nutshell defines the people leave managers, not companies.
Correct.
because a lot of times people, I find in my world as a business coach, people promote people who are good at their jobs to be managers. They don't then train them. They don't know how to talk to people, and they treat people like things, not people. And so it is a true art to be a good manager, and it requires a growth in your skill set. It requires a company to invest in you, because the nuances go a long way. And a drop of water can ruin a drop of blood in a gallon of water can just ruin it. So
absolutely,
really, really careful. One thing that people would be surprised to know about you.
That I have flown an Air Force jet before, even though I wasn't a pilot and I was wearing glasses.
Right.
I went through a program whereby I went through basic training. And in the 4th week of the 6-week training, we had what's called flight orientation. And it was a way to sell us, the people who hadn't decided on joining the 2-year ROTC program. And once I flew in that jet with that instructor pilot, John, it was over for me. I was going to the Air Force 2 years later. And so that's what most people don't know. But I did fly an Air Force jet before.
My father was in the Air Force. He was a dentist in the Air Force.
All right, fantastic.
I was always very, very proud of being in the Air Force. Yeah. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
Best piece of wisdom I've ever received is to be myself. And that, of course, came from not only my parents, but my grandparents. Just be yourself. Everyone else has their job. So it's important for me to do mine, but being myself, being authentic, that is really living a good life.
Yeah, well, we all have our unique ability. And if we can kind of be in alignment with that, then it's much easier to be yourself. So kudos to your parents. I love all the stories that you're kind of bringing up their lineage. That being said, fast forward 100 years, what do you want your legacy to be?
I want my legacy to be that I helped over 300,000 people to become financially free. That's what I'm working on now, and I'm doing it through the podcast, through coaching people, through the online courses. But to me, it's very important that if people want real freedom, they're going to find it through financial freedom. And then once they are able to do that, they can leave a legacy not only for their family, legacy wealth, but also for the community, because by being financially free, you strengthen the community in which you live in.
Amen. Amen. Paul, tell everybody your ideal client and how they can connect with you.
Absolutely. My ideal client is an online entrepreneur, and I want to help them to become financially free, because even though I know there are entrepreneurs out there and they're doing well, a lot of them are also in a lot of debt because they have the business loans. And of course, the pandemic didn't help last year. So people are in many ways rebuilding. So that's my ideal client is an online entrepreneur who is still striving to succeed, but they also need to look at their bank account as well, not only their personal account, but also their business account.
I love it. I love it. Paul, I loved this talk. I just want to highlight a couple of things that you talked about. The power of just, mental conditioning and taking care of yourself, the power of meditation and finding silent time to grow, the power of affirmations, the power of things compounding over time, the power of how you just grow as a human being, your wisdom that you got from Powell, lead people and manage things. And most importantly, be yourself. You've been a pleasure I love interviewing people on this show for many, many reasons, but I especially love interviewing people who can come and really be themselves. The conversation just flows so naturally. So any final thought before we close up?
My final thought, first of all, is to thank you for being a guest on your amazing show, Think Business Live. But secondly, I want to share with people that it's okay to go through a little bit of pain. We've been through a tough year. Now it's time for us to make that pivot and for us all to live our best life possible, because that's why we were created. So I really want to inspire people to move forward. Don't look back so much, but look forward, set new goals, have new dreams, and then take positive action and take steps to move forward to reach those dreams, to make it a reality.
Cheers to that, Paul. Think community. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Paul, can't thank you enough for your thoughts, your wisdom, everything. Give everybody the link tree link again if you want to connect with you.
Sure, they can get that at https:// link bit.ee/wealth building for life, the number for life.
I love it.
And you'll be able to get everything there. And thank you so much, John. You have a wonderful podcast. I listened to it last night. It was wonderful. I got my rating out there, and I'm going to be listening to it on the regular basis.
I appreciate that. Share it with all your friends. Think community.
I'll do that.
Appreciate you all. Some other free resources, my book and my 100-page ebook workbook can be found at johndwoskin.com, both free. And I think you'll enjoy it, as well as a ton of other resources. If you are looking for a financial coach, please reach out to Paul. If you're looking for a business coach, please reach out to me.
Absolutely.
Paul, this was a real pleasure. Appreciate you being on the show. Think community, thanks so much, everybody. Have an amazing day. Take care, everybody.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day.